there is a layer on Earth, different center plague. There is an environment layer zone of Earth that had the original or the first violence behavior in between animals and humans. And in that territory, there was a complete teardown of people. It was either animals and humans, or what happened was the cuts were very deep bone deeps. And upon first successful cuts, are the cases they yelled some sounds, and we became the prevailing in the need of publishing a name, because our original name becomes that yelling sensation or that noise Actually, it could be when Europeans tear Africans, Americans, or Africans. And our sight became claustrophobic and not planetary. And our sight scene started, which was the way you perceive skin tone wrongly, or like an illusion, like you are either black or white, or you are either black, or we are all black originally. And it's a spiritual realarm weakness. If you don't recognize it, it's wrong. Well, point is, after all this, our sight started having some victims, especially the ones because a mothers procreate and a man incarnate. And some mothers started secreting it, and they started engendering gunshot wounds. I'm sorry to say those conspiracy theories, but those gunshot wounds save this consciousness. And this is death visions. It's a consciousness where you perceive issues with dust. You see it moving and showing atomic disease roots. And it works to relieve the pain, but not to cure it, lacking against negative gravity from trees. Because black men were originally, before it happened, humanoid trees, humane trees, spiritual realm. And what happened, you already understand now that that vision gets released, and that vision of poop is spiritually like the colon vertebrae from the pineal gland. The pineal gland control imagination and visions. And the pineal gland extracts you space like a commotion or releasing those dust wherever you are in your layer. You see? And it drops and you feel better. You feel like you can live again for more, forever, forever. And that's the condition that you can cure in creating a video game that can mimic live reality of solar system, but that has a through of that territory of death or first deaths, which becomes the diseases diseased historically, racial changes. I'm sorry for saying, some people say European or whatever, but I'm saying like it was difficult to interpret now in memory, but we could have it through shadow shading, shadows shading with a mouse that move against dust cycling. Which you use all the healthy sexual activity, harmonic, wealth. Yeah, that's the story. And and where it becomes HIV, HIV becomes hallucinogen, Indonesia, visions, which is way after, though, since my crucifixion. And it's a story like the speed of light, which or the solar system is a spiritual metaphor to blood system. And this brain or the cranium is the platic or the plateau resources so if your blood you feel like HIV, or you feel like you might test negative, but you're testable anyway. And HIV happens because you got other people property DNA attributes. And what I'm trying to tell you is where the blood reaches the level of touch, sense, which is what define existence, reality, is somewhere down trees, shadows, in a layer somewhere where the sun is geometrically, like Sunny might teach me, like if you go in that place, you could be one with the sun. And being one with the sun means like being even Steven in skin tone. And having a different skin tone can get you to be hated for another disease that is called toenail infections or fungus. That disease comes from my hanging on tree. Because there was a hang on tree and there was a crucifixion. The hang on tree creates a bug because of how I communicate mentally with people, but the way I mix color, they don't like my sensation, they don't like my stamina that I'm regular from. And since that bug is created, because it tend to despise time, how it's not respective, to like the reason why I was killed. Because the reason why I was hang on tree was in India originally. It was over like not legalizing marijuana because they created the word mogi from me, mogi. Some which means a connotation of maggot. And this story means it's contradicting time, first of all, not to send me my real blood venom and not to take my name like a brownie points of miracles, which isn't a funny thing or a sexual name. Je suis, or like a name to sus, to be very energetic in your sexual reproductive sensation, and to use it against me over there. Because it was a name because alphabets, the vowels represent the colors and the consonants represent the outskirts of your image, pixels, defigurated in accordance to communication, intensity or tonality, like the TED that you heard. But it has to be in conformist with your mind. Not with your mind, but with your image. Because originally it was not about voices. But the way Mansa Musa days happened is I had to recreate it with voice. And the reason why the name on the cross, I'm going to come back to the story that give toenail infections, on the other hand, which I'm trying to brainstorm how identifying during conception can affect OPP and can make you now being in tune with being even, Stephen, in your sin. Which your sin or your skin becomes less strong to fight infections. Mine comes from and the nail to cross is an infection that happens like you smoke marijuana and it cures your left side completely of your toenail, like my story. But on the right side, it's not healed because yet, but it's healing. It's healing. I'm gonna be cured there. But I cannot remember in my past dying over a serious disease a lot. And it's a burden over the seed is recreated of the plant. But there is a revolutionary hate against it. Because they might say I'm crazy, but that's not the thing. My blood shed on that tree, on that cedar tree. That's its roots. That's its mothers, or its mothers actually. And the cedar everywhere, all the blood, that where the cedar is, and the carbon trajectory light or shadows or shade. I'm sorry to say, well, whatever. Heat geometrically one time when you smoke and you puff, and all that burden of hating my sensation of because the way I look different, whatever. It's true, racism exists. Get you to grow anomaly clean time to try to find your even sin. And that's spiritually where you can find where the OPP is from this seed.